Time now for one full hour of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Huff and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, here's your hosts, Doug and Marty.
This is The Straight Line on Drag Racing. Thanks for being here for our 1 hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. Winners from the Thunder Valley Nationals are here today. Shawn Langdon gets well real quick with his Top Fuel victory. Tommy Johnson Jr. locks himself into the Traxxas Nitro Shootout with his win, and we'll talk to Jason Lyon about heading to his sponsors event. We're in the beams and set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Wherever you may be, coast to coast around the world, this is The Straight Line here on MRN.com. Along with four-time IHRA Top Fuel Champion, 10-time NHRA National Event winner Doug Herbert, I am Marty Huff. Getting right back after the Thunder Valley Nationals at Bristol Dragway, one of the coolest places to see a drag race, and it didn't disappoint with some great action this weekend, Doug.
Yeah, Bristol's always fun. I've been good enough or lucky enough to win there 6 times and had a just a great amount of fun at Bristol. So I hate that I missed the race this weekend for Father's Day, but we had kind of another neat thing. We talked about it last week on the show. Went to the Harley Davidson Museum and went to the grand opening of their drag racing expo up at the Harley Davidson Museum, which was really cool. Saw Andrew Hines and Eddie Krawick there. Had a good time talking to them a little bit. And my dad's motorcycle was in the Harley Davidson Museum and will be in there till the end of summer with their drag racing expo. Was unbelievable. I posted some pictures on my Facebook.
Yeah.
But I had no idea all the things that they have there. But they have one of every year Harley Davidson ever made. It's a huge, probably a 40,000 square foot room with these bikes stacked up about on these huge racks.
Yeah.
Like you can imagine, like clothes racks, except for motorcycles. And they're like 8 high. And I mean, it's a huge building with all these bikes in there. One from every year. It just blew me away.
No kidding. Now, the ironic part was that you're kind of wandering around seeing everything, and then the famous poster with the explosion is on there, and you're going, wait a minute, that's me.
That was the first thing I walked in. What they had on the wall, the curator of the museum that we had on last week.
David Kreidler.
David had blown up a picture of the blow-up. He'd blown up a picture of the blow-up, and that was like the first thing you saw when you walked in the store, in the museum expo, was that huge explosion that we had at Pomona years ago. So that was pretty cool. And I asked him, I go, why did you put that up? And he goes, because that was the coolest picture of a Top Fuel car that we could find. And I was like, well, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that may be. So that was pretty cool. Neat deal. We did some brake stuff up there. We're having a Milwaukee brake school this summer, so we went up there and checked out the Mannheim Auto Auction location, which is where we're going to do the brake school, and also in Chicago at the Mannheim Auto Auction Center. So we went up and visited those places. Mimi's birthday on Saturday, so we had a big day for her, and she went and had a girls' spa day, and that made her happy. So nice. Everything was good. Everybody was happy.
And the museum itself, it looked to me by the pictures that you posted in the if some of the others that I saw,
there's more
really
than just
good
bikes there.
Yeah, right.
There's more than just bikes there. It's a whole history of drag racing display. They had a Don Garlitz dragster. They had a Snake and Mongoose section. They really had a great drag racing display. So if you are anywhere, it was only like an hour and a half north of Chicago, not that far. So if you're anywhere in that area, I would highly suggest go see that Harley Davidson Museum. It's worth the trip.
Right.
It is really worth the trip.
And then the Beast, after this round at the Harley Davidson Museum in Milwaukee, the Beast will be heading to another museum, which is really cool.
Yeah. Then after the Harley Davidson Museum, it's going to be heading off to the NHRA Museum in Pomona for a big deal that they're going to have, I think, in January. So, yeah, a lot of cool stuff happening. That was a lot of fun. So I was out doing that. You were at Bristol doing what we do.
Yeah.
And sounds like they had some pretty good times at Bristol. I was surprised again. Funny cars, Del Worsham, top speed faster than the Top Fuel cars again.
Yeah.
So it's every week almost the funny cars are running more mile per hour than the Top Fuel cars, which makes me mad.
Yeah, I bet. And we'll talk to Tommy Johnson Jr. here a little about midway through the show and talk to him about it. He's a mechanical guy. I mean, he knows a lot about this type of stuff, and he can maybe better explain why right now the funny cars are going faster than top fuel cars. Of course, Tommy's one of the few people. I think there's 15 or 16 people that have won in both top fuel and funny cars. Yeah. So if he may be able to explain it a little bit better.
Well, it's aerodynamics. It's real easy to explain. Actually, it's just aerodynamics. Look at the funny cars. They look like Bonneville Streamliners, less the big rear wing on the back. I mean, they're a Streamliner, and top fuel car looks about the same as it did in 1972 when Big Daddy rolled out the first rear-engine Swamp Rat.
Here's a question that I'm not sure about, so I'm just going to throw it out to you. We all know that the funny cars started going faster when they started. Jimmy Prock and some others started moving the headers back and through, and that give them a little more propulsion. Why can't the top fuel cars do that?
I'm surprised that they don't, actually. If you go to the drag boat races and look at the Top Fuel Hydro drag boats, their headers are pointed almost straight back. It's a little bit different deal because the top fuel car, you do need some downforce, leaving the starting line. But I would think that there's something to that. And I would be shocked if there's not guys that have already done it and tried it. I mean, the funny cars did this about a year ago, and it's pretty widely known that that's what's made them go fast. But, you never know. I mean, the reasons why a top fuel car has more traction, the easiest way that I explain it to friends, fans, whoever asks me is it's kind of like a hammer. Imagine picking up a hammer next to the hammerhead. Picks up real easy. You pick it up out at the end of the hammerhead with all that leverage, it's hard to pick up. The same principle as with a dragster. That's, they have better weight transfer and it just leverage on those rear tires. It gives you more traction leaving the starting line. So the half track speeds in mile an hour with the dragsters are much faster because they get going a lot faster. But the aerodynamics on the funny cars take over, and they're picking up probably 70 miles an hour in the second half of the track, where the top fuel cars are still picking up probably 50 miles an hour.
We're getting to the section of the season here. Now we're starting to get into June and into July, where we're seeing 125, 128, 130 degree track temperatures out there, where you can't necessarily go up there as a tuner and let it rip and let it eat, and you kind of have to tiptoe down the track, whether you're a top fuel guy or you're a funny car guy. Yep. So what are some of these the tuners and also the drivers thinking when they're headed up to the starting line and it's 132 degree track temperature?
Yeah, I think everybody has so much data now. They can go back and look at their data, whether it's at the last second. About the only thing you can do is modify your ignition timing in a top fuel car. And I don't know the exact number off my head, but basically you make a 2 or 3 degree timing change, and you're talking about a couple hundred horsepower change. So you take a couple degrees of timing out at the starting line, or you take a couple degrees out at 1 or 2 seconds into the run, wherever the problem is. Or maybe you take 10 degrees out or 20 degrees, it's just a number, whatever, whatever the number is. I forget it. It was back to Connie Coletta one time when we first put these timing retard boxes on it. And I said, he came over and he was looking at something and he said, well, why don't you take more timing? I go, we're already taking 20 out. He goes, so what? Like, who cares? Yeah. Like it doesn't, and what his thinking is it doesn't matter what the number is. Just take out more. It says, it's saying it needs more, take out more. And that's not bad. Not a bad rule.
Right. And once this
starts to take out levers in the clutches. There's things they can do, but you can't do it at the last second. Like what you're talking about. You go to the starting line, somebody in front of you smokes the tires. You got to do something instantly, and you can't take the bell housing off the car or take the clutch cover off and make a clutch adjustment. You got to do something on the engine. Yeah,
and because once you know that it's going to be a hot day, I mean, you're starting at a baseline where you're talking about, I believe it's thicker head gaskets, and starting from there, and and trying to
the air goes away down. Though, then the engines make less power, so then you've got to compensate. To basically, the easiest way to think of it is the engine just turns the clutch, and the clutch puts all the power down. But what you want to do is you want to turn the clutch about the same every time, and then use your use your tuning of the engine to kind of make the clutch work the way that you want. There's a million ways to do it wrong and one way to do it right. So, what do I know? But that, in general, the engine just turns the clutch. So you got to have a really good clutch program to make it work right. Smooth application of power.
Yep, and right now, that's going to be one of the main topics of conversation of how to calm these things down. When you're talking about 10,000 horsepower, man, you can get that thing down the track, but when it's really hot, you're also not going to go very far if you're smoking the tires. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program. Coming up, we will talk to Tommy Johnson Jr. about his first win of the season for him. Not the first win of the season for Jason Line. As a matter of fact, he's got 6 of them under his belt so far. And another guy who won his first race of the season, Shawn Langdon, will join us next.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. More right after this.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there. Whether you're running on dirt or running a job, our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
MRN's Winged Nation, presented by Sage Fruit on MAV TV every Saturday at 9:30 a.m. and again at 12:30 p.m. Steve Post and Ashley Strimmy give you a full half hour of sprint car news and interviews with the biggest names from the world of outlaws, ASCS, All-Star Circuit of Champions, Pennsylvania, Knoxville, the West Coast, and all dirt tracks in between. MRN's Winged Nation on MAV TV, presented by Sage Fruit, Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. Eastern on MAV TV. MRN On Demand. Listen or watch when you want and where you want. Find all of MRN's original programs in the Media Center at MRN.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Race Day Nation on iHeartRadio. Find NASCAR Live, Motorsports Monday, Winged Nation, NASCAR Coast to Coast, Pod Tracks, Sling and Dirt, The Inside Line, and The Straight Line. Motorsports programs when you want, where you want. MRN On Demand. It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now here's Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Now, if you listen to the PA people, they're at the end of the race, or even the TV people, it would have sounded like that Shawn Langdon has had the worst year in drag racing history. Talking about his get well weekend, but joining us on the telephone line right now is the driver of the Red Fuel by Schumacher Top Fuel Dragster. Shawn Langdon joins us. Welcome back from the dead, Shawn. I mean, I guess everybody had you buried or something. I don't know.
I know. That's what I was kind of saying to Bruno. I was like, well, I didn't think that we sucked that bad.
Yeah, right?
I mean, I knew that, we had a tough start to the season. But, as the season kind of progressed, our team within ourselves, we were building confidence. But, I kind of had a little bit of a feeling like they were kind of writing us off a little bit. We really weren't getting much notoriety. They were focusing a lot of things on a lot of other teams, which deservingly so. A few of the other teams got very hot and they were able to get a couple wins. But, yeah, I mean, we kind of got rode off a little bit, so I was kind of glad to silence the crowd, so to speak.
Yeah, your first final of the year also secured you a spot in that Tracks of Shootout, which is kind of a big deal these days. So, in addition to the win, you got a little extra bonus in there for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge program that everybody from Traxxas and Mike Jenkins and all those guys put on for us, and we're very thankful for the opportunity to be able to race at the Traxxas Shootout. That's the second biggest payout for us during the year, aside from the Mello Yello Championship, racing for $100,000 and 8-car shootout. So as the season starts out, it's not really something that you think about. It's something that is just there. It's a bonus for winning. But as the spots start going away, it really kind of gets in the back of your head a little bit that, man, we don't have much time. We got to start making some moves and getting the car turned back around in order to have a shot at that shootout. Because, going to the lottery drawing with the fan vote, lottery drawing. You never know what can happen. So, I've always kind of been the guy where I like to keep things in my own hands. So, fortunately for the Red Fuel team, Todd and Phil, they did an excellent job giving me a great race car out there. And I've been saying it for the last couple of races. I really felt like a win was close.
Well, yeah, that thing was coming around because you had top speed of the meet at Englishtown, so it's not like this thing just was nowhere. You've been right there for a long time. It just things didn't fall the right place.
Yeah, I really felt like at the beginning of the year we ran into a couple different issues with the race car. One of the main things is being the clutch dip. We had to kind of reevaluate that, as well as a couple other things that we had tried to put into our program, and we really felt that it was going to help us. Well, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So we didn't want to get too far behind. After 5 races, we felt that was ample amount of time where, all right, we need to kind of go back and we need to reevaluate this and we need to go a different direction. The first race, where I really kind of felt like we had something going for us was in Houston, but we just lost a great race to Leah Pritchett there, and going on from there into Atlanta, lost a good race to J.R. Todd in the semis. And the last couple races just really been, we had a good car, but we just weren't really getting those round wins. We were running into kind of the buzzsaw round where we were getting the guys low ET of the round, and I made a fatal mistake in Epping where I red lit, and I was really kind of discouraged. I was really disappointed in myself that, man, now these guys, they've been working their ass off, and they gave me a great race car, and I basically felt like I threw that away. So, I was really focused going into Englishtown, that trying to redeem myself, and we made a great race out of it, running Tony Schumacher in the semifinals. Nobody had made it down the track in that second round, and then the pair in front of us smoked the tires. It was a pedal fest in front of us, I believe, with Brittany and Steve. Yeah. So it just kind of confirmed our thoughts of we just need to get the car down the track, and I was able to get a couple hundredths advantage over Tony on the light. We made a good run for what we thought with a 390, but he just made a great run and went 384. So just sometimes that's just drag racing, and you have to take that, the good with the bad. But we're really determined going into Bristol. We felt like we had a car. I was determined as a driver to get this program turned around and get it to where I felt like we should be back in the winner's circle, getting up in the points. It's a great team to be a part of.
We were talking just before you came on, Shawn, about these hotter racetracks. It's getting into the time of the year where the racetracks are getting a little bit more greasy, and the ambient temperatures a lot hotter. When you're up in the staging lanes and you see that pair in front of you going to a massive pedal fest, and you know that probably both lanes are probably not where they need to be, how do you approach that as a driver going up to the lines, knowing that there's a really good opportunity that I may have to pedal this thing before I get to the finish line?
Well, you're really in a whole different mindset. When you go to a cold temperature track, you can be very aggressive on the throttle pedal as a driver, whether it goes out there and it smokes the tire or it shakes the tire. There's enough grip in the track to where what we call, you can quick pedal it to where basically you're just on the gas, off the gas really quick, and back on it, and it'll hold the tire. When you go to a hotter track, that is not what you can do at all. You really have to slow yourself down as a driver. You have to really train your mind to get off the pedal as quick as you can, grab the brake, slow the wheel speed down, and ease back into the throttle. So that's all stuff that's going through your head, and it's pretty difficult because you're really trying to focus on the reaction time, on staging properly. So on a cold track, your mindset is just hit the tree as good as you can, hold on, keep it in the groove. When you go to a hot track, your mindset is also hit the tree, stage it shallow, but also be light on that pedal, have your hand ready on the brake. You're basically preparing yourself to drive that car one-handed if need be. So it definitely is a little more difficult. You get a little bit more of the wheel speed early. It'll tend to have a little bit more washout, and it's especially on the 130-degree track. It's very critical to keep keep that car in the groove. If you get that thing half a tire out of the groove, there's a very good chance you're going to smoke the tires.
Yeah, and that's a good, a good thing that you said on the brake, because you got to keep after the brake. A lot of guys forget about that, and crew chiefs always used to get mad at me. What'd you pull the brake for? I go, well, make it where it doesn't shake and smoke the tires, and I won't pull the brake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, it's tough because obviously you're trying to do everything you can as a driver, but they're trying to do everything that they can as a crew chief. And, it's the hardest thing as a driver is trying to anticipate what the car is going to do. So there are some times where you think the car is going to do something, and those cars are very good at throwing you curveballs. So you think it's going to do something, and you try to anticipate it. Well, it wasn't necessarily going to do what you think it was going to do.
Hey, Shawn, coming from Lucas and then Alan Johnson, driving an open car and then going over here to Schumacher and driving the coupe instead of the convertible, what's your feelings and how do you like it? What's it different like in the car and driving the car?
Well, as far as the canopy is concerned, I really I do like it. It is along with the safety aspect of it, the DSR did a very good job, and all the guys at the fab shop did an excellent job, and everybody at the Aerodyne as well did an excellent job designing it, putting it together. It was well thought out. The coolest thing for me is it's kind of a racy feel. When you're sitting there behind the water box, they fire the car up, and then they set that canopy down. That's kind of that light bulb that goes off as a driver where it's like, okay, it's game time now. The other things that I like about it is it's quieter inside of the canopy to where instead of hearing the pitch of the motor, just the loud pitch of it, you kind of hear the motor tone. So you can hear as the changes go in the motor of when you hit the gas and it revs up and then the clutch starts to apply and it starts to pull the motor down. It's just really a whole different feeling. I like it personally. I think it's a pretty neat design feature. There's been a couple things that as a driver you just have to adjust to, but those are things in time that I've adjusted to, and I feel very comfortable. I feel very confident driving a canopy car.
Shawn, when your worst light of Sunday is an 062, throwing in an 032 in E2 and an 036 to finish it off. Driver was on the wheel this weekend to try to get that win. Were you doing anything special, or is it just hitting the tree at the right time?
Yeah, like I said, after that effing incident where I red lit, I was just bound and determined. I just kind of had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, really, that I kind of put there myself because, I really hate to give something away like that, to give a round away, potentially give a race away. With what all these guys go through, the crew chiefs, the crew guys, all the sponsors that are involved, everything comes down to that particular moment. And that moment's all on you as a driver. And really, when you feel like you throw it away, to be quite honest, it just pisses you off, So I really kind of had that chip on my shoulder, and I felt good this whole year really on the tree, and in qualifying, I believe I was 050 to 061 on the tree, and I felt very comfortable, confident with that. First round, I was 062, and I was okay with it. I really kind of expected a little bit more out of it. I was really kind of hoping to be in the high 40, low 50 range. Going up against Brittany, obviously I raced with Alan and Brian for a long time. They kicked my butt pretty good in Phoenix earlier this year, so I definitely had a little bit of adrenaline going there. So the 032, I don't know if I could go up there and do that again. I think that was just one of those where it was just a perfect scenario. I was in there stage shallow, and it's very, very hard to do when you're stage shallow to go 032. So I think that was just the absolute best case scenarios of all instances and occurrences. And I knew that, they had a good running car, so I had to do everything that I could to get any type of advantage I could for my team. And, going to the semis against Doug, I felt like I missed it a little bit there again. And against Tony in the final there again, Tony's one of the best in the business, and what Mike Green and Neil have done with the Army car, they've really turned it around. And I really felt like on race day they had the car to beat. They had a fast race car, and Tony was doing an excellent job being mid-50s on the tree all day that day. So I definitely did not want to go up there and go 060 on the tree. I really felt like if we were going to run close to them or within a hundredth or two of them, I needed to do everything I could to get a little bit of an advantage. And there again, I think it was just that adrenaline that kicked in, and I caught it a little bit, and luckily it ended up 036, and luckily we ended up with that win light.
Not a bad job. Hey, you've worked with some really good crew chiefs over the past few years, then now you're, with Phil Schuler and Todd Okahara. I think those guys are underrated. They do an awesome job, and they have been for a long time.
Yep.
I remember Okahara from being around with Roland back forever ago, and Phil has been around working on cars about as long as I can remember as well.
I absolutely agree with you. I definitely think that Todd and Phil, they work together great as a team. I think if you know them, it's kind of funny because they're a little bit polar opposites. Todd's kind of the quiet, methodical one, and Phil's kind of the brash, but he's very talented. So I get a kick out of working with them. Me and Todd, we go through a lot of the runs after our runs, after the day's over, just kind of methodically going through a lot of the things that I do as a driver versus my how I have my foot on the pedal and if I'm doing anything differently there, how my hand is on the brake, how much brake pressure am I holding, just all the different things. And then, if I get into a pedal fest and kind of analyze that on how I pedaled it, what I could have done better, just all those little different things. And Phil, we have a great relationship where we go through all that stuff as well. Phil definitely, he's good at keeping the mood very light. He was the first one to come to me after I red lit in Epping and kind of pick me up really and kind of give me that confidence as a driver that it's you're already beating yourself up. So and I think he's kind of a racer's crew chief where he understands it. He has another car that he's got Stevie Jackson driving, so he understands the driver side of it as well as being a crew chief. But yeah, I definitely think that these guys they're great together. They know how to win. They know how to compete for championships. Even though they as a team, they haven't got that championship yet, I definitely think that it's coming for them.
Well, I'll tell you what, good job winning over here this last weekend and, going to Norwalk this weekend. Good luck up there. You guys are on a roll and no reason to stop now.
Absolutely. Yeah, hopefully we can keep it going. We feel very good about our hot weather track tune-up right now, so I think it's going to be a little warm out there at Norwalk. It's a great event. We always love going there. The fans are great there. You can get that dollar ice cream to cool off a little bit, so it's definitely a fun event.
Driver of the Red Fuel by Schumacher, Top Fuel Dragster. Shawn Langdon joining us on the straight line, headed up to Norwalk and see if he can make it 2 in a row. Speaking of a guy that would like to make it 2 in a row this weekend, Tommy Johnson Jr. is going to join us next.
This is The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. More coming up right after this.
O'Reilly. Restore lost fuel economy and eliminate rough idle with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner and get 1 free. Clean clogged injectors and increase fuel efficiency with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Buy 2, get 1 free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The grill is hot and the cooler is cold at America's Tailgate Party, NASCAR USA. Join us each weekend as your host and head chef Rob Tanner serves up the hottest hits and country music, and Steve Post drops by with NASCAR news straight from the sport's top garages and shops. We have 2 hours of country music at the speed of sound, getting you ready for NASCAR racing. Rev up your weekend at America's Tailgate Party, NASCAR USA.
Motor Racing Network has a way for you to reach out and express your thoughts and opinions on NASCAR. It's the MRN Fan Forum Hotline.
Wondering what's the first thing you tend to think? I was curious about those new rules from what I heard.
Call in 844-4-ASK-MRN. Got a question or comment for a driver or MRN personality? 844-4-ASK-MRN.
You guys keep it on. Let's see you guys next week.
It's the Fan Forum Hotline, your connection to the sport of NASCAR.
Welcome back to the Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to Shawn Langdon for joining us on the Straight Line, and joining us right now on the telephone line is the driver of the Make-A-Wish Dodge and winner of the Funny Car Division at the Thunder Valley Nationals this weekend at Bristol. Tommy Johnson Jr. joins us. TJ, great job this weekend. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, guys. Glad to be on. It means you've done something well, I guess, for on the show.
Yep.
Hey, tell us about that. So going up there, you got your first win of the year, which it doesn't seem like you've been in a down spot or anything. It just hadn't happened yet. But getting the win up there at Bristol had to be good with your dad there, and that's always good for Father's Day, right?
Yeah, I tell you what, I should have saved money and not buy him a present, I guess. If I knew that was going to happen on Sunday, I wouldn't have to buy anything. But yeah, it was cool. We won Bristol 2 years ago on Father's Day, and this is the fourth time I've won on Father's Day. So it's
wow.
I wish they'd raced more. I wish there was more Father's Days in a year. I got my sister texted me after the race, said, "You realize 25% of your wins have come on Father's Day?" So
wow.
I'm pretty partial to that day.
Yeah, and it was your dad's birthday along with everything else. So, I mean, just a really good, feel-good weekend just heading into it, not to mention walking away with a Wally at the end of the day.
Yeah, that sure doesn't hurt. The Make-A-Wish team, we've run well this year. We just couldn't quite get it all put together, and we had some issues with some parts that we didn't know about, and we finally found that. And since then, the car's really come around. And to be able to go out there this weekend, my dad's birthday and Father's Day, and my mom and my nephews were there, and just really really special weekend. And you love to win all the time, but if you're going to pull one off, you might as well make it a special weekend like that.
Yep.
Well, being a runner-up in Epping, that thing has really come around. What does it mean to you guys to secure a spot in that Traxxas shootout, keep from having to go through that lottery thing and all that as well? Uh-oh, we lose you.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, you bring up a really good point, because I believe there was only one opening left in the Funny Car Division for the Traxxas Nitro Shootout. The next one is a fan vote. Without John Force winning an event so far, we know who's going to win, in a popularity conference.
Yeah, but see, that fan vote only gives you like certain number of lottery balls in that lottery, so it increased your chances, but it's still not
it's not 100%.
But of course, now that I think about it, I think every time the fan favorite is always won. Maybe the balls are weighted heavily.
Well, I don't think that there would be too much of a doubt who's going to win in something like that. No matter what, I think everybody's going to want to see John Force get into that deal. And
I was going to ask TJ about a couple things, but one thing was his reaction times got better every round.
Yeah,
I
noticed that.
With a 35 light in the final. Oh,
yeah.
He's back. TJ, tell us about
that. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, well, electronics, that's why we don't run them on the race car. Yeah.
Oh, man, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Hey, your reaction times were improving every round with a 35 light in the final. 35 light in the final in a funny car is that's telepathic.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I was actually a little shocked. I wasn't expecting that much, but I was having good lights all day, and John, the crew chief, kept saying, "Hey, we need lane choice. Don't be rolling this thing in. I need all the ET I can get." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And was having good lights even doing that. And you get to the final, there's no lane choice in the winner's circle. So you take everything you can, man. You roll in, you knock a couple off of it, and go in there and take everything you can, because it's the final round. And I put it in about 2 and knocked that 50. I had a 50 in the semis and knocked it down to a 30-some. So, yeah, just, you have to come to the starting line every run, and the class is so competitive now, and a hundredth or two will make a huge difference. So you have to dig deep, man. I wanted that win. We didn't get that Traxxas shootout in Epping, got runner-up, and, man, I felt bad. I had a good light there and still wasn't enough. So I dug a little deeper and see what I come up with.
Do you feel any worse that you beat your teammate on a hole shot?
Yeah, no. Not at all.
I didn't think so, but thought I'd ask.
Too.
Yeah, and Matt Hagan is a guy that'll leave on you.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of where I set my standard too. Hagen's one of the better leavers in the class, and if you can go up there and you can leave on Hagen, you've done something. You're doing your job. And I mean, everybody's tough, but yet there's certain guys you have to dig pretty deep for, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
TJ, your crew chief, John Collins, is kind of an underrated guy because he's got that car to the winner's circle not only with you driving, but over the years. He knows how to get the job done.
Sleeper crew chief.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, who's this guy? And it's ironic. We grew up in the same town there in Ottumwa, Iowa, and he kind of went to the races with me in '99 and just to help us out one race. And I think he got the bug that I actually like to do this. And he's done a great job working his way up through the ranks, and he's just very quiet, very methodical. He's a great racer, is what I like. We may not set low ET of the race, or we may not run the big numbers, but we're going to go down the racetrack every run, and you're going to have to beat us, and that pays a lot on Sundays. When the track gets hot and gets slick, he makes the right calls, and he knows the car will go down the racetrack, and they're going to have to outrun us.
Yeah, so it's no coincidence that the hottest races of the year so far, E-Town and at Bristol, that you guys ran really well, a final round and a win. I don't think this is any coincidence.
No, we did the same thing last year. We kind of got off to a slow start. We're kind of slow starters, and he does a great job of analyzing, all the new parts and pieces and what they're doing and how to make them work. And once we get into the hot conditions in the summertime, power doesn't always pay off. And he, we have good power, and we go down the racetrack, and he's very good at running exactly what the track will allow us. Not trying to overstep our bounds, and we don't pay attention to who's in the other lane. Okay, that guy's 300s ahead of us last round. Well, it doesn't matter. That was last round. This is this round, and that's what I really like. He does a really good job of racing the track, not the other opponent. And once we hit the summertime, that last year, we kind of come on a charge, and it's kind of repeating itself. We're basically on the same track as we were last year. I just hope that we've learned enough over the last couple of years. We finished third last 2 years, and we've learned enough that we can take that third and make it a little better this season.
Hey, Tommy, so one thing that fans that I've wondered about, probably everybody's wondered about, is Make-A-Wish is on that car, but Terry Chandler funds that car in full. No Make-A-Wish money goes to the car. Tell listeners and the fans how does that work, and what do you guys do for Make-A-Wish as far as making those kids happy?
It's kind of a really unique sponsorship, and it's actually basically our team sponsoring Make-A-Wish instead of Make-A-Wish sponsoring us.
Yeah,
Terry Chandler, she's been fortunate in life, and she wants to give back to others, and she loves drag racing, so she funds the entire team, not only mine, but also Jack Beckman's as well, and not a dime comes from Make-A-Wish. They pay nothing, and they get all that for free, and just raise awareness for what great things they do for these kids that are going through some struggles. And we have kids out to the track every Saturday at every event and entertain them for the day and let them cheer on their car. And, just to see their, faces light up and smile and also the parents, they're going through that with them, and to see them come and enjoy their, selves as a family at the track and at an event and kind of put what they're going through aside for a while. And it's been awful special. Terry's just a great lady, and I don't know that I've ever met anybody that loves drag racing as much as her, and it's kind of neat because, I have a tremendous passion for the sport, and to see her, have such the same passion as me, and, just not only for myself, but all the guys that work on this team, and, the Jack's team, and just she does a lot for our sport, and I don't think she gets near enough credit for what all she does.
Some Make-A-Wish numbers. Make-A-Wish grants a wish somewhere in the country every 37 minutes, which is just unbelievable, and is granted right around 254,000 wishes since its inception in 1980. Go to Make-A-Wish or go to wish.org to learn more. TJ, we were talking about this in the opening. It's been quite a few races this year that funny cars have run top speed of the meet. For those of us that aren't quite technically able to wrap our heads around that, why are the funny cars running faster than top fuel cars?
There's a couple different reasons, and early in the season, the rev limiters on the dragsters versus funny cars was a little different. The top fuel cars had a little more severe rev limiter on them because of the speeds, and so they were trying to slow them down. And the funny cars, we figured out all these things to make them run a little faster, and Hagen went out and screwed that up. And now we have the same rev limiter as the dragsters do, so they slowed us a little bit. But Aerodynamics has a lot to do with it. The funny car bodies nowadays, they've done a lot of research in the wind tunnel, and the Mopar Charger we have is a whole lot more dynamic than what they used to be, and able to get the downforce, without getting the drag, and it's increased the speed where, a top fuel car looks aerodynamic, but it's not. They could use a lot of work. If you really wanted to go to work on one and then redesign one, they could make them a whole lot better. So the funny cars are a little slower in ET because we weigh about 250 pounds more than the dragster, so it takes a little bit to get them going. We don't have the weight transfer to the rear wheels like the dragster, so we can't give it as much clutch early in the run to accelerate it. But once we do get going, we're a little sleeker, we'll slip through that air a little better, and in that back half of the track, we're picking up more mile per hour than the top fuel cars are.
Herbert tried to make one years ago, and Graham told him to leave it at home.
Yeah, I know. They don't like that innovation thing anymore.
Right?
That's not what drag racing is all about. It makes me mad.
I agree 100%. I'd like to see him knock about half these rules out, and let's see what we can do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Hey, we got cut off a little earlier when I asked you about it, but what did the win also secured you a spot in that Traxxas shootout, so that had to be a pretty good deal as well, so you didn't have to fight your way into that with that lottery.
I can tell you what, it took a little pressure off from Don, I bet. You want to get your cars in the Traxxas shootout. That's big money, and to be, that special race at Indy and biggest race of the year, U.S. Nationals, and to be able to be in that extra special race over Traxxas, and it's nice. Not only is it $100,000, but it's a little bit of clout, and to know that you earned your spot. We were looking at maybe not making it and have to go to the fan vote, and John Force right now is not in there. He's going to have to go to the fan vote. I didn't want to have to compete against him. I mean, he's got too many fans right up there. So I'm sure it's a lot of pressure to get ourselves in that and not have to worry about a fan vote.
TJ, how are the header flames affecting the side of these funny car bodies? I know that we've seen some of the logos come off, and some of the wraps have come off, and that's right beside where, right at the sides, very close to you. How is that affecting what you do behind the wheel, or does it affect anything really once you leave the starting line?
Well, a couple of my teammates, Beckman and Cash, control burning the logos off the side, and I said, man, they're in the car too much. Evidently, they're going too much side to side. They're getting heat coming up on the side of the car because our car isn't doing that. It's really the headers. They're always experimenting, trying different stuff with headers. We found that last year when Jimmy Prock put on a different set of headers and made the jump in performance, how much gain there is from the thrust of the headers instead of just downforce. And it has made it a handful to drive. Last weekend in Bristol, the track was pretty bumpy over the tunnels they have there, and I made a couple runs. The last qualifying run, the front end was in the air 1.2 seconds of a 3.9 run. So it is definitely harder to drive, and those guys, they must be trying a little something different than we are, at just different angles. And if you don't, they put you in a box, and you have to figure out how to make that work. You might as well work within that box and see what you can do. And I know our car's got a little bubble paint on it, but it isn't as bad as theirs. And I just told them it's because they couldn't drive. They're driving the thing all over the lane.
They're sideways, yeah. Hey, Tommy, you were saying 25% of your races were won on Father's Day. What's your most memorable race win?
It had to be the win in Englishtown back in '07. It was on Father's Day, and we burnt the car to the ground the first round. We were number one qualifier, just dominated all through qualifying, and then had a engine failure to top end on the first round, won the round, but burned the car completely to the ground, anything left of it. My guys were able to rebuild that car from basically a bare chassis to a complete car and be ready to go in just a little over an hour. We came back to the next run and set low ET of eliminations on that run and go on and win the race that day. You're not supposed to be able to do that. Once you have a fire like that, usually if you do make it up, there's still a problem or something leaking, or just not being able to get it fixed completely. And those guys did such a good job. We set low ET and then win the race. So, in my career, that is just a historic race, just a whole team effort. I think I won the semis on a whole shot, and just a complete team effort that day.
Well, there you go. That sounds like a good memory to have, too.
Yeah,
another Father's Day win.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
Tommy,
no.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, congratulations on the win at Bristol, and good luck this week coming up at Norwalk. Go grab you an ice cream cone over there.
Yeah, no, they won't let drivers have ice cream. They talk all about it, but they won't let you eat it.
They always let me eat it.
Yeah, they said
crew chief would just yell at me, but I don't care. See you, man.
You the rest of the difference.
We lost him again.
Yep, and that was probably good timing. Tommy Johnson, driver of the Make-A-Wish Dodge for Don Schumacher Racing, winner this weekend at the Thunder Valley Nationals. When we return, we will talk to the guy that's spanking everybody in the Pro Stock Division. Jason Lyon will join us next.
This is The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. We'll have more for you right after this.
What do you love most about July 4th weekend? Is it the food? The family? The fireworks? Well, this July 4th weekend, add one more word to the list. First. As in the first Coke Zero 400 at the world's first motorsports stadium. Everything you love about the holiday gets a huge upgrade at the all-new Daytona. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola. Saturday night, July 2nd. Guarantee your seats at 1-800-PIT-SHOP or DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
O'Reilly.
Restore lost fuel economy and eliminate rough idle with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner and get 1 free. Clean clogged injectors and increase fuel efficiency with Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner. Buy 2, get 1 free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
NHRA drag racer Doug Herbert here to talk about safe driving. In early 2008, my 2 sons were killed in a car accident that was caused by speed and inexperience. After the accident, I learned that over 6,000 teenagers each year are killed in car accidents, so I formed a nonprofit organization called Brakes. Brakes stands for Be Responsible and Keep Everyone Safe. Please visit our website at putonthebrakes.org to learn more about responsible driving and what you can do to keep our roads safe.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now it's back to Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Okay, so this guy is on his way right now to the Summit Racing Equipment Nationals at Norwalk. At the Summit Racing Equipment Motorsports Park in Norwalk, Ohio. He's also the driver of the Summit Racing Equipment Chevy Camaro. You can see where I'm going with this. He is also the winner 6 times this year. Jason Lyon joins us. Jason, congratulations on another great win and headed up to Norwalk. Where are you right now?
I'm going to a fancy Gap, actually.
Okay.
So thanks for having me on.
Well, you're out in the Hoodow country practically then.
I am. It's beautiful up here. It's very nice, and unfortunately, the phone reception isn't always great. So hopefully, it'll stay good enough. We can get our conversation in.
Hey, Jason, is there any extra pressure going to the Summit race at the Summit Motorsport Park in the Summit car?
Yeah.
Well, I would say yes, but right now, I just I don't know that I'm feeling a lot of pressure. It's been a phenomenal year, and I feel like they're probably pretty happy with me. So
yeah, I would think.
I'm hoping anyway. I know Ken is, so that's a good thing. So honestly, I'm really enjoying the moment. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is not the first time that you have the spotlight on you. When you go to Las Vegas twice during the year, that's a Ken Black track. So, of course, I mean, there's a lot of eyeballs on you. When you come here to ZMAX Dragway just down the road, that's kind of the home race for you guys. There are a lot of eyeballs, a lot of pressure on you to win. And then you go up to Norwalk where Summit is based or pretty close to there, and that's their race, basically. So this is not your first time. This is not your first rodeo of having a lot of pressure on you during a race.
No, it's not. And, I guess after a while, you get used to it. And there were times where it was more fear for me than anything. But, as I've gotten, I guess, older and more mature, you try to use that as a positive thing and try to use it to help yourself do a better job than you normally would. So hopefully we can do that this weekend. And I'm excited about going. It's fun to see all the folks from Summit and everybody who really makes it all happen for us behind the scenes, because obviously without them we don't race. So it's great to see him and at least tell him thanks for a few minutes, and it's just a good time.
Hey Jason, how mad did it make you to not make one final round this year? I mean, all these other finals and then that one you missed had to make you so mad.
Well, not really. honestly, I'm just I'm a little bit in awe of the fact that this is still happening. It's going on this long because, obviously we've got a little bit of a performance advantage, and Greg and I have been fortunate enough not to totally mess it up to where we managed to win all the races. So it's really I don't know, it's really crazy, and I don't even know how to describe it. At times I don't even know what to say, but other than the fact that it's just been a lot of fun, and I hope it continues. But obviously it's going to end at some point. All things come to an end. So in the meantime, we can ride her till she bucks, and hopefully that's a while longer yet.
Hey, Jason, one thing I wanted to ask you is in the final, you and Greg both had really pretty slow lights. What caused that? Well, no, I mean, because that's not normal for either of you guys. I was surprised when I saw that.
Well, what happened was when I was staging, I staged, and all four of the pre-stage and stage lights came on, and we both got on the throttle. Well, my stage light went back off, so through the auto start. The auto start didn't start, so we sat there for it was a long time. It was over a second and a half on the chip, which is it just completely throws you off because you don't know what's going on. So you don't know if you should let off the throttle and wait, or what you should do when the ball blinks like that. So it's really obviously it messed both of us up, and it messed me up just a little bit less. So kind of a strange deal. It happens every once in a while. And honestly, I used to be able to do it, but with the cars being fuel injected right now, I can't quite stage quite as smooth as we used to be able to stage. But that's the first time I've done it with in the fuel injection era. So it was a little bit odd, and Greg's probably a little mad at me, but he'll get over it, and we'll get over it, and we move on. So it was still a lot of fun.
It was interesting. On our video stream, we were just showing that. It was a perfect example of what you were just talking about. It flickered, went back off, came back on, and then bang. I mean, it was a pretty short light, and away it went. So that was a perfect explanation. Jason, when did you guys figure out, when was it during the year that you and Greg and Rob Downing and the KB guys looked at each other and went, oh, wait a minute, we've got 3, 4, 500s on the rest of the field?
Well, I think it was probably at Pomona, I guess, because we went to the test in Phoenix, and we ran pretty good, but I'm not sure we ran any better than anybody else. Maybe there was a couple cars who actually had ran quicker ETs than us, and it was in the morning, and so you don't really know. But we thought, okay, we're going to be okay. We're not going to be any slower than anybody else. And then in Pomona, I don't know why. I really couldn't tell you. We ran the same engine there. We did testing. It was obvious that we had a little bit of a gap there. And then when we went to the next race, it seemed like it got a little bigger. And then it just hasn't really. I'm not sure if it's changed much. It was. It got a little closer at Charlotte, and we picked up a little bit after that. So it's really kind of maintained as we've gotten better. There's no question. The class has gotten better, and we have gotten better. But that margin has really kind of stayed about the same, I think. There's times where they get closer to us, but it seems like they struggle more when the racetrack gets hot. So I don't know what that is. All I can tell you is I feel like our car guys and Rob Downing, the crew chief, they've done a phenomenal job of making the race cars really happy when the racetrack is not that great. So just very grateful to be able to drive this car right now, because I think anybody could win this car. It's so good right now that it's just a pleasure to drive it for sure.
Well, speaking about somebody that's happy, how about Ken Black? He's got to be pretty happy with what you guys are doing this year. It just is amazing.
Well, if he's not happy now, he's never going to be happy.
Fact.
Yeah, right.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
So he was actually here this week, and he came to the race, and let me tell you, he was ecstatic. So and it's just again, it's phenomenal. It's gone on this long. It's really it's shocking. I guess it's never been done before. So it's really I don't know. It's a fun to be part of. I can tell you that.
Wow. Well, Jason Line, winner that's last weekend at Bristol, going up to Norwalk this weekend. Good luck. Don't change what you're doing.
I'm not going to change a thing. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
driver of the Summit Racing Equipment Chevy Camaro, and heading right now as we speak to the Summit Racing Equipment Nationals at Norwalk at Summit Racing Equipment Motorsports Park. That is Jason Line. We'll wrap up another great edition of the show when we return.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. More right after this. Looking for winged sprint car coverage? MRN has you covered with Winged Nation. Tuesdays at noon Eastern, it's Winged Nation presented by Hercules Tire on MRN.com. Thursdays, check out the Winged Nation Weekend Preview podcast presented by Hefner Racing Products. Then on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. Eastern, watch Winged Nation presented by Sage Fruit on BAV TV. MRN's Winged Nation, your source for all things winged sprint cars.
When the smoke settles, the entertainment never stops.
Experience kind of outweighs youth.
On race weekends, your favorite NASCAR personality is an everyday superhero.
Kyle Busch driving for his life right now.
But when they leave the racetrack, they're just like everyone else.
Our lives are so much different than what people may think they are.
I'm Susie Armstrong. Join me on a daily journey as we discuss the hot topics and engaging personalities of NASCAR Nation. Ned Jarrett's World of Racing, weekdays on the Motor Racing Network.
NASCAR K&N Pro Series East opened up, and it was Todd Gilliland picking up the race win.
This is NASCAR Coast to Coast.
How do you keep it all in perspective? You're a 15-year-old. You got to be able to enjoy things at the age of 15 other than racing.
Yes, my mom makes sure that I keep my grades up. It makes it a lot less stressful to miss school because you can just do it online and then hand it in next day at school. Teachers still don't like me very much because I still have to miss quite a bit of school. They understand it, and they've got my back.
NASCAR Coast to Coast every Wednesday at noon at MRN.com. It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now here's Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to everybody joining us here on The Straight Line. Coming up in the state of Iowa, for the most part, you can see that car in its full-size beauty at a lot of different O'Reilly Auto Parts. Marion, Cedar Rapids coming up on the 30th. On the 1st, you can see it also in Cedar Rapids. They're on 18th Street. And then headed over the border there to East Moline in Illinois. You can see the O'Reilly Shredder at all of those places there on the screen. Cedar Rapids, Marion, Iowa, and also some more places in Cedar Rapids. Coming up to Norwalk, a place that you've won. Just one of those cool places to see a race.
Yeah, Norwalk's a fun place. It's a fan-friendly facility. Bader family's owned the track forever, and they do a good job getting people in, getting people out. It's neat when the guy that owns the track is out there helping people park.
Yeah, right.
He gets into it, and he's a big fan of it and a good promoter. So it's always it's fun to go there. Oh, and a good trivia that Norwalk in 2008 was the last place they had a quarter-mile NHRA Nitro drag race. At the next race at Denver, they went to 1,000 feet.
Who won that race?
I won that race. So there's another answer to a trivia question. Who won the last quarter-mile top fuel race? That would be me.
That would be you, and that's going to be the only time that ever happens because they're not going back to a quarter mile.
I don't think they're ever going back.
No, I don't think so. So big thanks to Shawn Langdon, Tommy Johnson Jr., and Jason Line for joining us on The Straight Line. So for everybody involved, for Doug, for Robbie Mays, for Daryl, I am Marty. We will talk to you next week here on The Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Tune in again next Thursday at noon Eastern on MotorRacingNetwork.com and the MRN app. The Straight Line is the show for drag racing fans and is brought to you by Hercules Tires. This program is also available on demand at the MRN.com Media Center, or you can download it through iTunes or Stitcher. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.